What's going on, people, and welcome to Man Knows Football. You are here with myself, Guni, and Matisse, man. How you doing, my bro?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Finally, the window is closed. We can all take a little break. You know, we've been covering this thing, and you know what, me and you, we don't like to cover everything. Do you know what I'm saying? We just cover
Yeah.
what we really think is actually going to happen. Because when them Neymar links were coming out a couple days ago, and Rafael Leao said, "You know what? No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
exactly.
No, we're not doing this." So it's nice that it's over, man. Tired.
Has your blood pressure returned back to normal
I
after
mean,
all this?
yeah, I think so, man. Because we knew that we needed certain positions sorted in the last couple of days, the last few hours, and it wasn't a guarantee that we were going to get it. And obviously, it's like not my first choices, but just at least we got them in. You know what I mean? Because we would have been light, and we need competition that front line especially. So I'm just intrigued. I'm not going to get over gassed or anything. I don't think it's even possible to do that considering the start to the season. I'm just going to just mellow and let's just take each game as it comes.
Also, as well, people, don't forget, make sure you do smash the like button as you do join in. Also, Matisse's links are in the description. All of them are clickable links as well. So I've done all the homework for you. So this one is going to be about the transfer window, the summer transfer window. Obviously, you lot know that it closed yesterday. So me and Matisse are just going to give our thoughts about about the business that we've done so far this season. And I want to start off with Todd Boehly, because I think this guy deserves a special shout out because he done what he said he was going to do, first of all, right? Which is he said he was going to back the manager with the decisions that he makes. And obviously, you're not going to get every single transfer that you want through the door. But he's shown intent and he went all the way up until the end with certain transfers. We spent a whole bunch of that transfer window going after Frankie de Jong, although it looked like an impossible deal. But Todd Boehly tried his best. But more importantly, it's about the deals that he did manage to get through the door. He's accommodated to the youth, even the women's side of the football as well. I hear he's made very good investments into that team too, and the first team as well, Matisse. But yeah, let's talk about Todd Boehly a little bit, man. How do you think he performed this window, especially at the fact that he wasn't even supposed to take on the role that he did? But how do you think that he's done coming from America and dealing with a different sport?
I think it's been perfect from him. Literally 10 out of 10 for Todd. You're coming into the sport at a terrible time because the window is just about to open. You'd much rather come in when the window's closed so you can plan for the window. No DOF because obviously you restructured the hierarchy, which needed to happen as well and was always going to happen, because, you know, Marina's worked under Roman for all these years. Would have been probably strange for her to even be working with Todd, regardless of whether he decided to keep her on or not. And of course, then too many cooks in the kitchen, and that makes things even sometimes slower if people are disagreeing on the way that, you know, transfer dealings should take place and how much we should pay and all these kind of things. So that could have even made business slower, and we didn't have time to waste. It was a massive rebuild. He was surrounded by a whole heap of deadwood players that we had clustered up and carried over with us over the last few years. He had to deal with a massive situation in Lukaku, which feels ages away now, but that situation needed rectifying ASAP. Took a big hit on that. Werner needed to be sorted. All of these players, Barkley released, Emerson, Alonso, all of the guys that we've been praying and talking about, let's try and get rid of these guys. And every single season it never happens. We finally saw it happen. And when you go out and check Chelsea's departures, Werner, Emerson, Lukaku, Sarr, Rudiger Christensen, that had nothing to do with him and didn't help him in any respect. Kennedy, gone. Hudson-Odoi finally gets the loan that he needs. And, you know, Barkley, like I said, Drinkwater, Saul, and Aguez obviously was already leaving. Alonso straight up just released him. Like, these guys is so important to get rid because we have been strangled as a club for so many years in terms of trying to bring players in because we ever had no space. And then when you look at who he's brought in, he's kind of done two different transfer windows. And the fact that he's managed to do that with not too much help, you know, he's had to learn all of the agents, learn about the director of football people as well, the way that they negotiate. You've got no past history with negotiations or relationships dealing with any of them. Every single time he's meeting someone, he's meeting them for the first time and he's breaking down barriers and he's put in a British transfer record spend of 273 million, only eclipsed by Real Madrid in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And he has proper back the manager. Every single target he's wanted, he's gone for him. Rafinha, you wanted him, we'll bid for him. You want Dembele, we try for him. We try for De Jong. We try for De Ligt. We try for Ake. We try for everybody. And he's just gone balls to the walls. So you have to give him credit, man. And it's a lot of quality that he's brought in. And if people are saying about Gilmour as bringing his 10 out of 10 down, Tuchel sanctioned the Gilmour exit. Tuchel is happy for Gilmour to go. Todd Boehly wants to keep Gilmour. He wanted to keep Levi Colwill. That's why he didn't depart permanently. He wanted to keep Hudson-Odoi. That's why he's out on loan. He wants to keep these young players to see what they're about. But Tuchel didn't fancy Gilmour. He also didn't think he needed a DM as much as we do, maybe as fans. He didn't have it as high up on his priority. So that's why the DM became a late move, not because Todd Boehly didn't want to bring in one. If Tuchel had said to Todd Boehly, I need a DM, he would have got him a DM, because Todd Boehly doesn't know what Tuchel needs or what we need. He just go in and get anyone. He wanted Ronaldo. He likes Ronaldo, but Tuchel said he doesn't want Ronaldo, so you're not getting Ronaldo. We're not getting him. So he hasn't overrided any of Tuchel's decisions. He hasn't tried to be Roman and bring in Shevchenko and Torres and Ronaldo and all these big names and Neymar. He's done exactly what the manager wants. So for him, he gets a 10. He gets a 10.
100%. And there's several things that you said there, and some of them are debunk myths, but there's only one concern about Todd Boehly that I do have. I'm not gonna lie to you, is that he better watch his cholesterol, because he's been feeding and eating way too much this flipping transfer window. But it's been for a good cause though, man. Todd Boehly, just going back to that in general, if you listen to Ben Jacobs, who I've been listening to all summer, I know you have as well, and quite a few of the people in the comments have been listening to him. The interesting thing that he does say is that the way Todd Boehly has been dealing with other representatives of different clubs and agents and so on and so forth, not one of them has ever said that he's a bad or difficult person to deal with. They've all given him glowing reviews and said this is a guy that seems to be, a very nice guy, very reasonable person to work with, and quite serious. So that's also a very good thing, because obviously with the infrastructure that we had before, there were irreparable relationships. For example, the situation between, Granovskaya and Jomino Riolas, we wouldn't really do business with them, which I can understand, in certain aspects, but it's never good to burn bridges with any kind of agent, because you should having a full pool of players available to you is always going to work to your advantage. So that there is a good thing. Another thing that I will say is I've heard other fan bases, they're saying, well, why is Todd Boehly picking this player, or why is Todd Boehly bidding for that player? And quite rightly, like you said, Matisse, these are not his decisions. He is obviously liaising with the manager. They're discussing. He doesn't know the first thing about football. So this transfer window has been given to the manager, also to Neil Bath as well. We're going to come on to the youngsters as well. Let's not forget Neil Bath, who is the head of youth development at Chelsea Football Club. So he's trusted these footballing minds to make these decisions. He's not gone out on his own and said, oh, look, shiny toy, I'm going to sign him. As you quite rightly said, it's quite easy for somebody who is new and very tempting with the money to be able to just go out there and buy all-out superstars without doing any kind of scouting or whether it's going to fit into the team. So respect to him for that. So let's get on to
on top of that, just to say as well, like you mentioned, women's team and Neil Bath Academy, bringing in young players. We have to not live in a bubble and think Chelsea is just the men's team. Emma Hayes needed reinforcements. Emma Hayes wants to win. Emma Hayes wants to win every single year. Premier League, Champions League she wants to get. So Emma Hayes needed new players, and they brought in players for her. And Neil Bath, that under-23s PL team as well, was on its last legs last year, because obviously we've let most of our young talent already leave because they're too good for PL2. But we were in a relegation scrap to the point where we needed to bring in first teamers to keep ourselves in the top in the league. So they needed recruitments in the academy throughout. So I'm saying, yeah, man, there's only so much one guy, and I know he had a couple of other guys as well. But there's only so much this human being can do. He needs to sleep. You know what I'm saying? He needs to have meetings, and meetings can get rescheduled. He needs to negotiate. He needs to, it's money, it's business. There's a lot that goes into it, paperwork. It's not just bid and FIFA and bid and bid and bid and bid. You know what I mean? You got to do a lot. So yeah, man, he did about 5 or 6 people's jobs this window, to be fair to him.
Yeah, and I can't even slight the owner whatsoever. And obviously it's one transfer window, but based off what I've seen from him, I think we've just gone from one great owner to another one, man, and we've been very lucky in the transition. And a lot of this is owed to Roman Abramovich because there were and to be fair, the bank that dealt with it, I forget their name. Is it Rain or something?
Rain Group, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to have a little moment of weakness with Ricketts, but they managed to fix up.
So we've got to give them credit because there was a whole due process that had to be done before the club could exchange ownerships, and a lot of that was down to the criteria that Roman Abramovich wanted to make sure. We didn't want to be in a situation like the Glazers over there at Manchester United, and the years that Arsenal have had under the Walmart people. I forget the names of this guy who's married to the Walmart lady. Cronky, the Cronkies, yeah. So we've been in terms of that transition, we've been very lucky. But Himanshu, thank you very much for the super chat. Tuchel has no excuses now. He was in charge of the window. He got his players and has to deliver now. I'm not taking anything below a top 4. It's high time. We're going to discuss Thomas Tuchel towards the end of this live. So if you want to hear our thoughts on his performance over this transfer window, make sure you do stay till the end. Also, as well, man, I can see 250 people in here. Make sure you smash up that like button, man, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But Matisse, let us move on to the youth. I'm gonna start off because we cannot forget we also signed youth players. You know, your Chooks. I don't want to say his full name.
Chukwuemeka, isn't it?
Yeah, bro, something like that. But I've just shortened him for Chooks, fam. I'm sure most of the change room are going to call him Chooks as well. So big up Chooks. We've also signed Omari Hutchison, another Arsenal player that we've signed. But this guy apparently has a very, very high ceiling, very highly rated youngster, actually. Arsenal were quite pissed in losing him. Troops was telling me like he wasn't too happy about losing him. So that there sounds like he could be a player. Obviously, need to see more on him. Casaday as well. Interesting signing there from Inter Milan. Made quite the interesting debut. Got a red card in his first day. Absolutely cleaned out a play. Did you see that, Matisse?
I didn't actually know. I didn't.
Absolutely wiped out a geezer. I think it was half time or something like that. Just wiped him out. Welcome to the Premier League. Got his red card. He's gonna fit right in, bruv. I love hearing stuff like that. Have I missed out anybody else? Slonina. Chicago Fire. Young goalkeeper. Still needs a couple of years, obviously, to his development.
Apparently, he's keeping clean sheets as well, doing his thing.
Bro,
yeah,
some of the saves that he's making, and obviously I'm not being too reactionary because this is just shot stopping. There's a lot of aspects in goalkeeping, especially in this modern day. But in terms of his reaction and his shot stopping, he looks like a cat. He looks incredible. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. Obviously, there's huge space for development. In terms of that, that's a position where you mature later on, closer to your 30s and that, and you've still got years to play. So we've got to understand that about the goalkeepers. Have I missed out anybody else?
Let's take a look. So it's a long list, man. There's who else have we? The Italian midfielder.
Casaday, I mentioned him.
Yeah, Casaday, you mentioned him. So yeah, I think you've got everybody. Yeah. So that was a separate transfer window, isn't it? You know, that was a window where you look at it and you say, that's for the future. And it's going to be very interesting. I mean, 2 of those midfielders there that you mentioned, they're 8s. So we got a lot of them. So I'm interested to see. But the competition's there. So it's good. But I'm not sure exactly in this current system exactly where they will fit in. But maybe there's obviously that's way into the future. So there could easily be system changes to come. It's Broja. Some of the players that we didn't purchase that are coming back, Broja, Gallagher's, they're the ones I'm really keeping an eye on because I think Broja's impact off the bench in the last game deserves a start in the next. And I think Gallagher, obviously, it's been tough for him because he got sent off and he's clearly maybe trying too hard. But he's still, even with the shaky start, there's still room for him to play games because the guys in his position, and I'm talking about the front 3 now because I do feel the pivot is a bit restrictive for him. Yeah. They're not firing. So it's like, if you want to be this crash the box, goal scoring 10/8, you could still do that. Even though you've had a shaky start, if you get a goal or you have it's not even just about getting a goal, but it's about having a proper good performance because that's not what we're getting right now from the front 3. So there's still room for these guys to do what they need to do.
Yeah, it's a fact. And also as well with our new addition in Denis Zakaria, who we're going to talk about later on. that might open up quite a few angles from a tactical perspective, so perhaps open up roles that we weren't necessarily trying to play before. Because, like I said, if he is going to be operated as a DM, right, in his actual role, then tactically it makes us more versatile than we've already have shown under Thomas Tuchel in terms of his tactics anyway. But in terms of the youths that we signed, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know their development from start to finish, but just based on the research that I've done and what I hear from youth scouts, and obviously trusting Neil Bath, that's a big one as well. Is they seem to be in like their top percentile in terms of their age group. So like the ones with what considered with the highest ceiling. Obviously, it's youth football. We don't know, the transition between youth and senior football is huge, but in terms of their age groups, they are considered like amongst the elite ones apparently. So that for me is a good sign. It's a big indicator that we want to sustain for the long term. And Todd Boehly's here. He's not playing games. He wants to be winning. He wants to have an academy that's going to also be merging with the first team. And I think we need to really amend that, but that's down to the manager. But I think trust needs to be built considering one or two sales that have been made. So since I do consider them as younger, but they have played a bit more senior football, your thoughts on Billy Gilmour and Ampadu both leaving the club?
It's a strange one for me because I think both the players suit the system more so than some of the other players that have been selected, like a Gallagher. Now, obviously, if he used to change system, then that changes things. But in the current way that we play, whether it be the 4-2-2-2 or it be the three at the back, which seems to be more secure, but we are leaking goals regardless, I think they had a role to play, but he obviously didn't rate them as highly. So they go. And I think if we didn't get the DM, then there would have been more outrage. And there was outrage. Like, while I saw it on the TL, everybody was losing their minds and they were saying Gilmour's gone and this is a disgrace and 9 million and all this stuff. I was just on Twitch, just vibing with my community. We were just discussing it. Do you know what I mean? Just discussing it and just saying, at the end of the day, we already knew that Gilmour wasn't a favoured player for Tuchel, and we already knew that he didn't even have a squad number. So I wasn't really having that outrage. As much as I rate Gilmour and I wanted him to stay and I wanted him to get a chance, the outrage for me, I didn't get it, because it's like, we know Gilmour's going. We know Gilmour's not part of this. We know that Gilmour didn't get a squad number. He was sent home early from pre-season. We know that Ampadu, despite having really good words to say in pre-season, we know that he didn't get a squad number, or he wasn't even brought off the bench when the opportunity arose for him to come on when we had those issues. So it's like, I can't really be surprised. Now, if we didn't get Zakaria, then it would have been like, yo,
panic stations.
What are we doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're literally shooting ourselves in the foot. But they brought in Zakaria. I can't judge him because he has a little bit of a sketchy injury record. That's the only thing that worries me. In terms of the quality of the player, I need to see it for Chelsea. I just need to see it. But it does feel like a Sal Niguez. It does feel like a panic. It does feel like a last gasp. It doesn't feel thought out. It doesn't feel... It doesn't feel... I hear you. It doesn't feel elite. It doesn't feel like an adequate...
It's not a name that you'd believe Chelsea had in their list about 2 weeks ago or so, in terms of if we're looking at DMs anyway.
It doesn't feel like a guarantee. And that's what we need, because he's not coming in to be... and some people think he's absolutely horrendous, and some people are telling me he's really good. I don't know. People talk about Mönchengladbach. That was a while ago, of course. I know he just joined Juventus in January, but that seems to be where the hype is coming from. I want to see what he's on now. Yeah. We needed a starting level player, and I don't know if he's more. He feels to me like a depth option, like a rotational option, like someone that can come in if we have injuries. But he needs to be starting quality, because we have injuries and they're not reliable, those players. So if Kante wasn't injury prone, if Kovac wasn't injury prone, someone like Zakaria maybe wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, or Sal Niguez, because they're not going to play much. But these guys are going to play, and we need them to play. So, yeah, I mean, there's good examples of loans and there's bad ones. There's Kovac, great loan. There's Sal Niguez, horrendous loan. So I'm going to just see how it goes. But I don't, regardless of how he does, I just don't like the fact that we're reactionary and we're not proactive. We're not understanding the importance of bringing in a DM, and we always seem to be last gasp, treating the position like it's the last thing on the priority list. We're treating the position like it's not important. We're treating it like as if we don't really think we need one, and now we have injuries, suddenly we get one. It's like Liverpool, Arsenal, get a few injuries in midfield and suddenly we need a midfielder. No, you needed one already. You needed one at the start of the window, just like you did in last year.
Exactly.
So it's more the way it's being treated and where it's been listed, more so than who's now come in, because I just don't. Back-to-back loan deals on deadline day doesn't scream midfield problem. It screams, oh, we'll get one.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna move on to the senior players that have come into the squad. But let me just get through this super chat. Ilias, thank you for the super chat. Is there big pressure on Tuchel this season? We're gonna discuss Tuchel at the end, but in plain and simple, yes, absolutely, and we'll explain that later on. But senior players, all right. Since we did start off with Zakaria, I guess we should just Zakaria. I don't even know how to pronounce this brother's name either.
Zakaria.
Yeah, there you go. So
just about.
This is on the Chelsea website, so it is official that he has joined the club. He's also got the number 20 shirt that was previously held by Callum Hudson-Odoi. So we have got the CDM that, well, you know, that I've definitely been crying for, which in a way is positive, but just off what Matisse was saying is a lot of the hype of the player, and I hear that the best of the player was at Mönchengladbach. Now, the thing is with that is pre an ACL injury, a very serious injury that kept him out for it kept him out for a season. It was like over 260 days or 240 days, something like that. So people that have watched him consistently have said that he hasn't returned to what he once was. And, you know, I don't know what level that was in terms of, you know, how good he actually was before then. Apparently he was meant to be this wonder kid guy that, you know, Chelsea fans wouldn't mind having. I don't know what he is now at Juve. But what I will say about Juventus as well, and this is coming from a Juventus fan, it was actually David Amoyal that tweeted it. He said, don't judge players while they're playing at Juventus, except one or two, because Juventus have a way of turning players recently into half the ability that what they're supposed to be. They're not performing at Juventus as a whole, basically, is the message. I don't want to write the player off. He's a Chelsea player. He's got the blue shirt on. I'm going to support him. I don't want to write him off, but I'm not going to turn around and say to people that was the CDM that I was talking about. What I am happy with, but I think we should have acted sooner, was the Edson Alvarez. And the reason why I was like, yeah, we need this guy to come to the club. This is a CDM that can come, is the manager cannot misprofile him. That's the thing with Edson Alvarez. You look at him and you know exactly what he's built for. Natural CDM. And apparently I did see one of the comments say that we're going to revisit that in January. And for me, that is excellent news. It's excellent news. Should we have done something before? Yeah, we're going to discuss that when we come on to Thomas Tuchel, because remember, it is the gaffer that made the decisions. Big up Zar for jumping in the chat as well, especially after the money you man spent. Tuchel better do something. Yeah, listen, just drink your Aubameyang tears, bruv. Yeah, and I'll see you on the next podcast, my bro. But thanks for jumping in. So in terms of the Zakaria move, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I think it's tough, man, because like you said, I don't want to rule out anyone, and I wouldn't rule out anyone, even Aubameyang, right? Aubameyang wasn't my preference personally. I think I would have preferred even Zaha, but again, wasn't gassed on him. But I definitely would have preferred Gabriel Jesus. I would have preferred Rafinha. These are the guys I was excited about. So Aubameyang wasn't at the top of my list, and he wasn't even at the top of maybe Chelsea's list.
Hold on, we're still on Zakaria.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, so in terms of Zakaria as well, he ain't on nobody's list, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's not kid ourselves. I see people on the TL saying, I've always wanted this guy. No, you didn't, bro. No, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you didn't. But, you know, he's a Chelsea player now, and I wiped the slate clean for everyone. Even Ziyech, when he came, I wasn't keen on Ziyech. I wanted Sancho. But when they come in, brand new player, it's a clean slate, and it's like, let's see what you can do, and then judge them off of what they do. So I'm just looking forward to seeing him, man. And my biggest thing is that please just hopefully he stays fit, because if he is picking up injuries, if he is going to be that guy, then we are screwed because we already have injury-prone players. Now, I was more excited for Alvarez as well, just because he looks a bit more secure in what I was looking for, which is really now just someone to do their job, right? We have so many players in this team that don't do their job. They do other people's job, but they don't do their job. It's almost like they're in the wrong department.
Yeah.
You've got centre backs that pass better than attacking midfielders. You've got strikers and forwards that tackle and press. That's great, but they can't create. They can't shoot. You've got wing backs that can shoot better than the strikers. You've got midfielders that
it's all
can do a bit of stuff, but can't do a bit of everything, which you need to be able to do in midfield. Like we can pass to a decent level, but not a great one. We can't really shoot, but we can't really cover everything, but we still can tackle. It's weird, man. It's like, bro, the team's just backwards, bro. So it's like, yeah, just everybody just do your job, man.
Yeah, I don't. Did you know what? I think that's a fair assessment, man. But the important thing is that, you know, he is a Chelsea player right now, so he does have my full support, man, and I want him to succeed. But the one fear that I do have, because let's not pretend our manager doesn't have a habit of doing this. Do not misprofile him. Don't use it. Well, he can.
I don't even know what his profile is.
To be
People
fair,
tell
no.
me
To
he's a
be
DM.
fair,
People tell me he's not. I don't know.
I mean, I've heard several opinions. He's a box to box. He's a DM, whatever. But respectfully, from the people that I listen to, like that I respect, that talk football, I hear he's more of a DM and he's operated better there. So I would like to see him used as such, instead of him coming in and being a box to box next to a Jorginho or somebody like that. I just don't think that's going to work, to be honest with you. But I just hope Tuchel does not misprofile him. In fact, I hope he just keeps him as that CDM that we need. But let's see what happens with him. But either way, welcome to the club, Zakaria or Zakaria. The next one, obviously, we just got him through the door yesterday. Obama blood clot, yang.
My brother
has arrived through the door at Chelsea Football Club. Now, let's have it right. CDM for me was the massive priority, because that's a position that hasn't been addressed for years, since Matic. But we did need a striker or an attacker that could put the ball in the back of the net. That is also a fact, right? Yeah. And I've come out and I've said some things like, troops, tell Aubameyang not to sign the contract, tell him not to come to the club, we need the CDM. I've said some stuff like that, right? We got the CDM, not the one that I wanted, but still, we've got one there. Aubameyang, how do you feel he fits into this team? Or do you feel that he will run into the same issues as previous strikers have had in the past?
I think he's a better fit than Lukaku, for sure. But it depends how you use Aubameyang. And this is what I'm going to get to next. If you're going to play Aubameyang with his back to goal, up top, trying to drop deep, link up play, then we're wasting our time again. But if we're going to play Aubameyang how Aubameyang's meant to be played, which Tuchel knows, so I'm assuming Tuchel's going to 100% get this one spot on. And Aubameyang hasn't lied to anyone and said he could play with his back to goal and he could do any job that the manager wants. But he did say, I'm back in business. And that did shit. I got PTSD from that, because, you know, we've already heard that one before. And he's wearing the number 9 as well. So there's some issues there. So you need to stop all that, right? Because man's already starting to get traumatized. So let's just be simple here. I can see him potentially playing off the left, like he used Timo Werner, to make those runs. It feels like Tuchel wants that center player to be the guy that drops in, to be the guy that links up. He's even used Sterling in that role at times to connect the forward line together, so the right and the left don't get disjointed. So I can see him coming off that left, and he scored plenty of goals off that left. My biggest issue is this comment, correct? He doesn't solve our creativity issue, which is why I would have preferred somebody maybe like Jesus or Rafinha or Dembele, or Dembele's injury prone, so I wasn't always gung-ho on that one, but just someone who can do a bit of both, goals and creativity, because the team lacks both. So if Aubameyang doesn't get chances because we still struggle with chance creation, we don't create enough chances, then this is once again someone needing to exceed their XG, and we're going to be frustrated and we're not going to play good football. But if we start to create more chances, and another player that I wasn't, and I'm never keen on for long term, I don't mind if he stays or goes, but Ziyech had a good period last year, and I personally said he made it to the next round of the X Factor. He made it to the next round. He had a good enough stint in the season where he was actually doing his thing, but he obviously doesn't want to be here, or he wanted to go and the system doesn't suit him, whatever. But if Aubameyang came in, Ziyech staying could be crucial, because Ziyech and Werner had something in some of those games where Ziyech would pick his head up, play that long pass, and then Aubameyang or Werner before would be spotted. And he might see those runs. And it happened against City in the FA Cup final, Champions League. There were some moments as well. So I'm banking on it, but it's not consistent because Ziyech is injury prone as well. And it's just, so it's like that. But yeah, in terms of Aubameyang, he can finish. I hope professionally he stays mentally checked in and he doesn't do a lateness is greatness.
Yeah.
I said that on my video coming up, that lateness is greatness. It's not great anymore. It's not great. You know what I'm saying? Even myself, do you know what I'm saying? So hopefully he's patterned and he wants to be here and he wants to do it. The announcement video of him saying "Come on, you Blues" was awkward as hell.
It was very awkward.
You can tell that this wasn't really part of the plan. You don't leave Arsenal to go to Barcelona and then 6 months later you find yourself back at Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange. Let's not pretend like this is normal. As much as I'm bantering Arsenal fans, first of all, I don't really think they care too much considering they're top of the league, but it's weird. It's weird. So I'm not gassed. I'm not excited, but I am intrigued. And it's all about Tuchel. Tuchel has to get the best out of him, Sterling, and whoever else he puts up there, because these are his attackers now. So there's no excuse. So I'm just game by game. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, but it looks intriguing, but not yet exciting. Not yet.
What I hope to see though is I don't want to see Sterling down the middle again. I don't. I would like to see. I know Aubameyang can operate off the wing as well, specifically off that left. But I'd like to just see him down that middle and allow Raheem Sterling to just operate there. But Raheem, didn't he play more on the right wing for Man City? Or am I bugging here?
Who? Sterling? He did.
Raheem
Yeah,
Sterling,
he had some great games at right wing. He did. He did, and he could easily go over there. So the good thing about this move is it provides competition for the people that need it. Yeah. Havertz is not guaranteed to start. He could get benched. Mount is not guaranteed to start. He could get benched. Sterling could go to the right. I have no problems with that. Aubameyang could maybe go off the left, and whoever's in form, Bury or Kai, could go up top. You never know. So it just makes these players not undroppable, which is needed to give them a kick up the arse. Depay is another one that I would have said even more would have suited just what we're doing a little bit more as well, just technically. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I really just hope he gets this one right, because Lukaku, no matter how many times people want to convince themselves that he didn't want Lukaku, we know he wanted Haaland, but Lukaku at the end of the day was sanctioned under him for 100 million. So he definitely said yes. That's a big L. Got that wrong. Most of the fan base got it wrong. We all got it wrong. Can't keep getting it wrong with the forwards, because we have, and no matter how much I defend him, we've gone through all of the Lampard forwards, and that's fine. They're not his. Now we're using your forwards. The Lukaku one didn't work. That's not even all your fault, because I think Lukaku did that to himself as well. But now we've got Sterling in, we've got Aubameyang. Mount, you have to get the best out of, because he ain't going anywhere. Kai Havertz, you need to get the best out of, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think we should be taking a loss on him either. I think he needs to make it. Yeah, like, you can't just bin off everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't just say Werner, Lukaku, Kai, Ziyech, Pulisic. Like, no, Kai needs to make it. He needs to. They need to sort that shit out, because there's no way what I saw from this player at Bayer Leverkusen is just going to just dry up like this. I need to see this brother become something. So it's time to get to work.
Absolutely. So that's Aubameyang. What do you rate that signing out of 10?
Aubameyang. Wow. I'll probably give it for the price we paid and the fact that Alonso was part of the deal, which is really important because we needed to get rid of him.
True.
I'll probably give it a 7. I don't want to be too harsh, because it is somebody that's got a great track record for scoring goals. He is getting on in age, but Tuchel knows the player from Dortmund. I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7.
I think seven's fair. I think
Yeah.
seven's fair. We forgot to give Zakaria a rating as well.
Zakaria, for me, I'll give it a 5 because I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So I'm just going to go straight down the middle. I think he could either be a success and it's an underrated coup, or he could be an absolute flop, and there's just no in between. So hopefully it's the former. But I don't know enough about what I can't even like hypothetically think what he could potentially do because I'm in the dark. It's too late. It was never a target of mine. It was never a target of anybody in the fan base. It wasn't even really a target of anybody, even at Chelsea. It was just a random last gasp. Who's available? Oinstein tweets the interest, and half an hour later, he signed. That doesn't happen unless Juventus don't give a shit. And he's really not in their plans, which he's clearly not. And clearly we didn't have this guy on the list because this is just happened like that. So it's like,
the silver lining in this cloud is that it's a loan with an option to buy. So that's the biggest silver lining in all of this. So Juve are not quite off the hook yet. So we might just send him back. But again, the good news for me is the fact that we are going back in for Edson Alvarez apparently in January. I think that'll be, well, it's going to remain to be seen whether Ajax are going to want to sell during January. Obviously, it's not a best time to be buying players, but apparently they are open to selling him, or at least discussing his sell in the winter transfer window. So we've got to keep an eye on that when the time comes. And we move Raheem Sterling, a player that we have seen play for the club so far. I thought that he was a good signing, to be honest with you. I think he gives us a dynamic, maybe not to the level of your Ousmane Dembele and that, but he does give us that dynamic of, when he is one-on-one with players, you can actually say sometimes he might just beat this guy, something that we've been missing. So I think he gives us that bit of extra dimension in terms of his ability in front of goal. Obviously, his history speaks for itself. He's got a very positive history in terms of he's hit over 20 goals in a Premier League season. I think, is it more than once, or he's done it at least once? That much I know. His numbers have been brilliant. So I think this is a very good signing. Again, it was the whole CDM issue that would have raised the grades for me a lot more if we had got, like an Alvarez or somebody like that. But we haven't got that yet. But in terms of his signing, what do you think of Raheem Sterling, especially since we've seen him so far?
I think he's been good, really, really good. I think he's by far and away been our best attacker, which is not hard. And we saw that in pre-season, that he was clearly the guy that was going to change things up and actually, take players on and go past players and actually get himself on the score sheet multiple times for us already in a team that's struggling from an attacking standpoint. So I think he's been really good. We've also, my thing is just not over relying on him because he still isn't going to do everything to the elite standard. He's not an elite passer. There are moments in the last game where people were frustrated because he maybe didn't pick his head up and pick out the pass for someone else in a better opportunity or better space. His finishing is still going to be up and down. It's not going to be, Harry Kane level. So he's not like just world class in every department. So we shouldn't tailor the whole team to him. He's meant to be part of what is a good team or a very good team. But he's definitely upgraded us. I'd probably give him like an 8.5. He's upgraded us, and he's just made us a little bit more unpredictable, which is nice because before it was just nobody wanted to take anybody on before.
And I think he gives us some kind of, guarantees up top as well. I know Sterling does miss chances, he does, but his conversion rate is also pretty decent. And I do think he'll be one of the goal scorers, one of the higher goal scorers towards the end of the season, which is something that's always positive. Actually, coming from our attack instead of our defense, I think that would be good. And it'll be interesting to see him working with Aubameyang. That for them two up front is going to be ridiculous in terms of pace wise. They're going to be rapid. So maybe we can use that to our advantage in terms of counter attacks, where we're just going to blow teams away with that as well. Remains to be seen. But for me, Raheem Sterling, I'll give it an 8 as well. I'll give it an 8. I think I like that signing. I love that signing.
Mm.
So outside of Raheem Sterling, so far we've done Zakaria, we've done Aubameyang, now we've done Raheem Sterling, Wesley Fofana,
Mm.
Leicester centre back. We have signed him apparently for 70 million, not 80 or whatever they've been reporting. Apparently it's only 70 million or something
Yeah.
like the add-ons will go up to 70 million. I don't know. It's either add-ons will go up to 70 million or is 70 million altogether. But Fofana, we haven't seen him play, again, an unknown element. But what he does have, if a lot of people lean towards this, he is Premier League proven. Has done very well at Leicester, has had a horrific injury. Let's have it right. But he has played since. It's just a matter of longevity with him that we need to see. But I like this signing. I'd be lying to you if I was to say Wesley Fofana isn't a centre back that I've wanted. I like him. I do. I did want him. The price is none of my business. I've come to this transfer market thing. This window, I said, I'm going to stop caring about the price. I'm going to care more about the quality. And let's have it right. If you do really want to focus on the price, this is a player, if managed correctly, we can have over the next 12, 13 years playing for Chelsea Football Club. So then for me, how I make it reasonable is that I'll divide the payment over those years and see what we win altogether, and I'll just weigh it up. That's how I look at it from that standpoint. But Wesley Fofana, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of money, but yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he's gonna do, man, because if he plays at the level that I saw before the injury, particularly the game against us in the cup final, he was unbelievable.
Awesome.
Oh, like a defender at his age, and you can't spot a weakness. Quick, good in the air, good enough on the ball, great reading of the game. Just quality. So if he's playing at that level, I know he's just come back and he had a little bit at the end of the season, but if he can get back to that and this injury hasn't really affected him, which is the hope. And obviously they put him through a whole heap of tests in America there. They said 10 hours. He said he was in there. So if he can play at that level, then he's going to be ridiculous for us for a long time. And he seems like he really, really wants to be here. He spoke glowingly, which is nice to see. And he helps us potentially play that back four as well. I don't know. I mean, that heavily depends on Zakaria and what he becomes and how he plays as well in midfield. But he could potentially give us the flexibility to play the four at the back more often, which I don't really think is the be-all and end-all of Chelsea playing well. I think it's more about players making proper decisions in the positions and zones that they're in. Because regardless of what formation you play, the pitch is the same, the goals are the same size, and the decisions you need to make are relatively similar. You need to be smart on the ball. You need to make sure that you pick your head up. You need to make sure that you have the weight of pass. You need to make sure that you take the shot and tuck it into the corners. These things don't change regardless of the formation. So the quality needs to go up regardless. And for him, yeah, so it's a big contract. So hopefully, there's no mad injury, because yeah, that's a big one. But I'm happy with him, man. I'm really happy with him. He's a very high potential player here.
100%. Let me just get to this comment, because this is a bit mad. Imagine paying 80 for a injured Fofana when we could have just kept Rudiger and Christensen. I've got to dispel the first myth here. We couldn't have kept Rudiger and Christensen because they signed for other clubs, first of all, and we was under sanction, which meant that we had no power or control over the whole situation. But we did actually. Marina left it too long. Let's have it right. Marina did leave it for a bit. But we came into a period where we were sanctioned. We weren't able to do anything, and both players chose to leave. So they've left. And that's going to actually bounce me on to the next question, Matisse, before we move on to Koulibaly, because I know we've only got like less than 10 minutes left. I want to talk about Tuchel before we're done. Do you feel the replacements of Koulibaly and Fofana is an upgrade to Rudiger and Christensen?
I think on the ball, Koulibaly is an upgrade to Rudiger. I think he's a better passer. He's using that left foot a lot more, which is making us more expansive. He's switching the play of his left foot. I like that. I want to see that from a left side centre back. He's not going to play the same way as Rudiger. Rudiger's obviously going to carry the ball more. He's going to drag it into the penalty box, into the opposition half. He's going to do all of that. So it's different. But I do feel like Koulibaly is of that level, and I don't really see us downgrading there. I think that's great. Fofana, it's all about him. Just everybody's speaking about the injury in the comments. He had a massive injury. It kept him out for a year. To spend the amount of money we spent on him after that is risky. But you have to trust the medical teams. Todd knows this, hence the extensive checks, and hopefully it's not going to be an issue. And he got checked by the best doctors in LA. So you have to just leave it with the professionals and forget that kind of, because just because somebody gets a massive injury, it doesn't make them injury prone, in my opinion. Anybody can get a massive injury. If that massive injury makes you injury prone and you keep picking up injuries, then fair enough, you're injury prone. But he picked up a massive injury. He's been fine since. So I'm not going to call him injury prone until he's actually injury prone. So yeah, I think the defense is great, man. I'm really happy with that. Cucurella is a massive upgrade on Alonso as well. So I'm delighted with the defense. Yeah, definitely.
And let's move on real quick to Koulibaly before we move on to Thomas Tuchel and give him a quick rating on the transfer window. So actually, we got to give Fofana his grade. What do you give him? I'm going to give that one another 8 for me.
Yeah, I think an 8 is steady. Definitely steady.
All right, Koulibaly, the experience that we wanted to bring in since we did lose Rudiger. Me personally, I love the player. Obviously, he got the red card against Leeds, a bit of head loss. Probably tired of doing 2 jobs at once, if we're being completely honest with you, and just said, you know what, I'm going to call it a day. Not really the best way to do it, but he did it anyway. But outside of that, that's an isolated incident. I think that's a brilliant signing as well. I'd actually go as far to say 8.5 for me. But what do you think of the Koulibaly signing?
I'm going to give it a 9 because for me, regardless of back 3, back 4, left side, right side, middle centre back, it doesn't matter. The guy is a class defender. So, and because Silva's getting older and he's going to probably leave next summer, that makes Koulibaly even better because we know who our leader is back there when Silva's gone. So I think for me, he gets a 9. I'm going to give him that.
100%. Cons is the most negative guy in the world. Koulibaly already got to say his name's not Koulibaly, fam. It's Koulibaly, cuz. Yeah, get that one right. Koulibaly.
There's no point talking about Rudiger because we're here to assess the window that Todd Boehly has managed and Tuchel has managed, not what Marina decided and Roman decided before. That's not what we're talking about. So there's no point mentioning Rudiger and there's no point mentioning Christensen because it wasn't Todd Boehly's decision to not renew their contracts. So that's it.
Exactly. Jay Subi, thank you very much. And the last topic that we're going to do before we do go is Thomas Tuchel. But before we get onto that, people, smash that like button if you are in here. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. You get me? Make sure you show some love. But Thomas Tuchel, the final one before we go. He was given the responsibility to choose the players that he wants for his system. So therefore, we have to hold him accountable for these signings that he has made. Has he addressed the priority positions and has he done it adequately? Those are the questions that we have to ask Matisse. So let me get your thoughts.
I think Tuchel is a lot of context because obviously he's in a position that he's not comfortable with, and he said that publicly. He didn't want to be in a position of director of football, and I don't think he should be, but it's unfortunate the circumstances. So you got to caveat that. And I think, his summer has been hectic as hell. He's also had to prepare the team for preseason and the season. I didn't like all of his selections for preseason in terms of who he took, who he didn't take. I didn't like the profiling of Gallagher in the pivot, even though, we had injuries. But again, like I said, that's why you need a midfielder. Got that a bit wrong. But I feel like with him, people are very angry right now. And even people saying Tuchel out.
Yeah.
I am aggressively, religiously still Tuchel in. And I know that he's made some errors. And I know that he's misprofiled some players. And he's made some decisions with Gilmore and whatever that I haven't completely agreed with. But this is still a man that took us to 2 domestic cup finals last year in one of our most troubled seasons in our history.
Yeah.
He's still the man that's dealt with the political situations and the team situations in terms of the disruption and all of that very well. He still does everything for me that I want a Chelsea manager to do in terms of representing us. And then yes, tactically and or profiling wise, there are some question marks, but I believe that he is smart enough to eventually clock that. Yeah, we need a DM, we need this, we need that, and he'll get it right. And it's taken a while. But I do think he's still the guy, and I still think long term he is the guy for us. But yeah, it's just about, you got to show it. You got to show this season again. You got to keep us where we need to be because we spent a lot of money. So yeah, man, I'm still behind the guy.
I want to be fair to the manager as well, because this is actually his first window where he's had the say to be like, this is the player I want, this is the player I want, etc., etc. So this is his first opportunity to do so. So I think it will be very premature, and I think it is very premature for people that are saying Thomas Tuchel out. He hasn't really been given a chance, and like you said, he has worked wonders with what he's been given to deal with. You know, let's not forget. I don't like leaning on it anymore, but the Champions League was a miracle. There's so many other things that, you know, that where he deserves to have this opportunity, how we dealt with the pandemic, etc., etc. Do you know what I mean? But my concerns with the manager was just addressing the priority, because I felt that midfield position was neglected. It was neglected for the majority of the window, and to go back in the nature that we did, it's not really the best. But again, you can't address everything in one window. Who knows, behind closed doors, we might have been trying to address the situation earlier, but the players weren't available, the clubs were just not interested at the time. You never know, so I don't want to speculate too much. But in terms of sanctioning the Gilmore and Ampadu sale, he's got to be vindicated for that. Well, Ampadu's going out on loan, so we'll be coming back to the club. He's got to be vindicated on some of these decisions, man, because if it does go left in that midfield, or if it does go left this season, going back to somebody who had the question, will Tuchel be accountable for this season? Absolutely. We've spent nearly £300 million. Of course, you're going to be held accountable. Any business, regardless of whatever it is you're doing, if you're spending that much money, you better be vindicated in your decisions. Otherwise, it's going to be curtains for you. So, of course, he's going to be under massive pressure. And I think it's reasonable to ask, as if you're an owner and you're spending that much money, top four should be a requirement. I'm not even asking you for the title. Yep. After spending nearly 300 M's, but bring us top four. I think that's fair.
From the Telegraph, just before I got to go afterwards, but Matt Law from the Telegraph on the 24th of June, Thomas Tuchel has been promised as many as 6 summer signings. We've made 6 first-team signings, right? 3 defenders, 2 attackers, and 1 midfielder. Chelsea's new owners have set Champions League qualification as a minimum target for their first season in charge. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, they've spent the money, they've brought in who he wants, or they've tried to bring in as many players as he wants. Obviously, Barcelona are a special circumstance. And what he has at his disposal, he should be getting top 4 with. And I think that is absolutely fair. So I completely agree with everything you said. And for people that say that there is no accountability and there is no expectation, or there is, now you're taking it too far. There's always expectation. This is Chelsea. You have to make top 4. You have to do expectations and standards, and you have to get the best out of what you have asked for. It's not even what you've been given. It's not. There are expectations to perform when you've been given things, like in terms of like you've just been when you've just walked into a situation and then none of these players are yours. But you now have recruited, and these are your players. So you definitely have to perform with that. You have to show that what you wanted makes sense, and it, you know what I mean? So yeah, for sure.
I know you've got to go, but let me just get through these super chats real quick, and then we're going to call this and make sure you smash that like button as well and subscribe if you are new to the platform. Rate Wes, but losing to Mori is an L retrospectively. Hopefully, moving forward, we give youth more a chance or have more buybacks like Tammy. I think we will be seeing youth being given a chance. Obviously, the director of football has to come in too, and I think they're going to have to sort of go with that youth philosophy as well, which is another thing. You know, if a director of football comes in and he doesn't work well with Thomas Tuchel, that might be a bit of an issue as well. So we've got to keep an eye out for that. Obviously, I want things to go positive. I'm not trying to start that off on a negative vibe, but we've got to keep an eye out for that as well. And AJ, last super chat. Thank you so much for the super chats, people. By the way, you big up Guni and Matisse. Everyone hit the like button. Season starts tomorrow. We must go on a 7-8 win streak to get back. Guni, we need the interactive 4-3-3, please. The interactive will come back. I'm just going to stop giving dates because things keep coming up. I've gone back to work as well, and my hours are kind of left, right, center, fam. So I haven't really got like a scheduled thing. So people, bear with me. I will bring back the interactives. I do enjoy that. But Matisse, thank you so much for joining in on the channel. What have you got up on your channel, or what have you got coming up? Where are you about to feature right now, actually?
Yeah, West Ham preview is about to drop soon. That will come out tonight. Going into a pre-record now, and that will come out tomorrow morning. So yeah, man, just subscribe. You can check out the latest video that's up. There's a lot of time went into that one. Should be entertained. And yeah, big up your damn selves, man. Big up the chat.
Absolutely. Likewise as well. West Ham preview will be coming out at some point today, probably after 7-8 o'clock UK time, if I'm honest. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. If you're new, like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash up that like button as well. Leave your thoughts down there in the comments as well, and smash the notification bell so you know when the videos are coming out. But Matisse, thank you very much for joining in. Big up everybody in the chat. Thank you very much for joining in as well, man. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, people, please stay safe. Bless up.
Big up.